Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set within Vampire the Requiem, a Requiem for London. Tonight, we convene with Doctor Isabella Morrow of the Ordo Dracal. In particular, the Order Dracal's research division, of which a good doctor is a part of. And you, Isabella, ever since soon after receiving your information dump from Sebastian,
Yep.
Which was as colourful as it was lacking in detail. Perhaps colourful as it was vacuous, one might say. You've informed the one who actually gave you the go-ahead to make the rather massive offer that was made to Sebastian. That person is the Kogaion of the entire Ordo chapter here. This Katona Mukai. She's also the leader of the Swan of the Axe, your military wing. And upon you sending a report to her, probably to the main Wyrm's Nest of the city, which is situated in Southwark. Is one of the universities there. She has called you for a meeting in Kingston. It's a rather large town. It's in one of the outer boroughs of London. Rests upon the River Thames. Kindred-wise, it sits right on the edge of Kogaion territory. It's a town that is still within Order Dracal territory. They have the borough Kingston upon Thames. But the town itself, the town the borough is named after, sits right on the edge of it, resting alongside the southwestern part of the River Thames. And she's asked to meet you Lower Ham Road, just opposite Stephen's near the rowing club.
Okay.
You know the place. It's a bit of a drive away, but or a bit of a it is really quite a drive, to be honest. It's an Attleborough. It's not great getting around town, particularly in London. Driving and subways aren't like the underground isn't great here. That's more inner city.
Do you have a point and drive, so I could probably borrow a car from someone?
Oh yeah. I assume even if you don't have a dot and drive, you can. Actually, no, I'm not going to be that nice. I feel like being that nice. I feel like being that guy. I feel like that being that guy now.
You
Particularly
make me
since it's
roll
London.
to effectively drive in London.
No. You can drive. No, you have a Dotson drive. You aren't risking a car crash. You actually can drive. If somebody doesn't have a Dotson drive, we're gonna have to roll because they sure as hell can't drive. It's London.
Hmm.
Like a,
And I'm American.
like so many people can't drive. Yeah, wrong side of the road, baby. um, but yeah, it's a slow journey. It's raining. Everybody's using their cars anyway because they don't want to get wet. Everything's slow. But if nothing else, it's a very leisurely drive.
Hmm.
It's scenery here is nice, a bit more green. It's an outer borough. It's an outer part of the city. There's a core park nearby. It's not such a bad drive, despite it being slow and the traffic
Nice.
being poor. And find a place to park. Drive past some poor bastard. There's a giant puddle and he gets covered in water.
Oh well.
You can't hear or see him swearing at you because of all the rain pouring down on the car, but you can feel it. You can feel the rage.
Get used to disappointment.
Yeah.
Actually, before I do this, I wanted to do some research on revenants, just in general, just to see what I could come up with.
Okay.
Just
Make me an intelligence plus occult roll to
sure.
research it. Because this is very much occult based.
That is 2 successes.
Okay, where do you make that roll?
Oh shoot, that was wrong. Wrong game. Can I just copy and paste it?
Just roll it in the industrial one.
Okay. Watch me fuck it up now.
It would be funny.
No, that was better. Sweet.
And you get to reroll. You get to roll a 10 again.
Yep. Yep, I'm on it.
Fun times.
Nope. All right, 2.
Okay, 2 successes. Yeah, a fair bit of research has been done on revenants by the local Ordo here. The Ordo find revenants a fascination in general, particularly those on the Mystery of the Voivode, which is all about the blood sympathy, connections via the blood bond. These sort of baseline properties of the blood itself. And you find some pretty fascinating references. You have what you already know, which is that revenants are kindred that aren't truly embraced. They're usually individuals that are either drained to death and are simply left to die.
And then just don't.
And then get up after a certain period of time. Or they are ghouls that have simply been killed. And much like normal humans that have been drained, because they have been contaminated by either the kindred bite, or in this case, for a ghoul, kindred blood, they have a potential to rise again. But of course, it is not a proper embrace. They're not being fed blood post-mortem. You also find some other things. Again, you know that they always wake up hungry.
And they can't keep blood the way as efficiently.
Can't keep blood in their system, no. It's specifically how it works now. It's not that it goes away after a few hours. It's every time they go to sleep, and rise, they wake up without blood in their system. It's as if their body burns through all of its blood to rise. The process isn't entirely known to the Ordo yet. It's one of the main mysteries they're still unraveling about revenants. But they do believe it's very much connected to their incomplete nature as kindred.
Has there been any research done on why this happens to certain people? If it has something to do with the person that was embraced or not embraced in this case, or if it just has to do with the person that made them? Like, is it just a matter of, like, if a vampire with really strong blood kills someone, then they're still good, then they're going to rise, or does it have something to do with, like, the physiology of the person, of the revenant?
The Ordo have answers. They've done quite a bit of research on this topic and have been able to identify certain patterns. And they've managed to discern that kindred with more potent blood have a higher likelihood of producing revenants. Kindred that are young or have low potency within their blood, low strength within their blood that hasn't really matured or aged yet, or elders coming out of torpor whose blood has thinned. They have a much lower likelihood of producing revenants. It appears to be much more likely that kindred with more potent blood, as you hypothesized, much more likely to create revenants. However, the sheer number of more thin-blooded and younger kindred, and the fact that they tend to feed in a less experienced, sloppier fashion means a lot of revenants are often produced by younger, thinner-blooded kindred. This is in part because of the socio-economic position that younger kindred are often in that they don't have the resources of the elders, they don't have the herds, they don't have the large feeding grounds, they don't have the political positions to acquire those things. And elders are generally seen as more controlled. They have generally found means to weather and sate their beast without succumbing to frenzy as often. So, while more potent-blooded kindred if they are to engage in these, if they are to drain someone dry or do have one of their ghouls killed, are more likely to produce a revenant out of it. It is often younger kindred that produce revenants because of the societal position that they're within.
Okay.
A lot of elder revenants, or a lot of revenants created by elders are often ghouls. Ghouls that die. Because elders often rarely drain somebody dry with out of hunger or without destroying the body, you reckon, because they probably know there's a chance they can create revenants, and younger kindred are probably more ignorant of that fact.
Okay.
But yes, purely biologically speaking, it comes down to the potency of the kindred's blood. It has nothing really to do with the human.
Okay.
You know, if a body is destroyed, though, that a revenant will not be produced.
Okay.
Like you throw it into a meat grinder, a revenant's not going to come out of that.
Right. Okay.
What do you think on your research and your new discoveries into the nature of revenants, and also perhaps the one thing which may be of relevance to your coil, their unnatural blood sympathy to the one that made them.
Right, and that's okay, yeah, and that's really what the Order is most interested in.
That's something your coil is perhaps more interested in, the senses of the kindred and how the revenants seem to have it's something perhaps of more relevance to the vote, the mystery of a void vote, but it is again an anomaly that relates to kindred senses that the Call of Wyrm also has an interest in, but in a slightly different way. A bit more baseline, less interested in blood sympathy. But
Right.
you're walking. You start walking along as you kind of mull over this. You're walking along. Queen's Promenade. Within a few minutes, again, just opposite this tiny little island inside the River Thames, where there's a small boat club. Alongside the railing, standing two people. One holding a fairly man who looks to be in his early 30s, has a tweed jacket on. And wiry hair, accompanied by an Asian woman who looks to be in her mid-20s.
Do I know who either of them are?
You know that the Asian woman is the Kogaion. She's Katona Mukai. She's the leader of your covenant here. The other one is her child, Cohen Fletching.
Okay.
But Katono, the Kogaion, champion of the axe, companion, Illuminus of the Ordo. There are many titles that the Ordo bandy around to the point where it's almost a code language for them. She will take a step forward, but will not stand beyond the umbrella's range. She'll simply say, Miss Morrow, good to see you.
You as well. Thank you for inviting me.
It is my pleasure. Have you met my child?
Not personally. He'll put out his hand to her hand to him to shake.
Cohen Fletching. Pleasure to meet a fellow Illuminus.
Isabella Morrow.
You come from the Philadelphia, right? Yes.
Yes, I wasn't there for terribly long, but
no. But I hear they've performed some very revolutionary work up there. It's good to have you with us.
They keep us busy. Seems pretty exciting here so far.
Yes. Well, as much of it is politics as it is genuine academic development.
That's true anywhere.
Less, but that is more for the order of the mysteries to deal with.
Indeed.
I'm poorly suited to such endeavors. This is why I rarely comes with these Elysiums.
That's fair. I often try to avoid them, but I'm glad I decided to be social in this particular evening. Seems apparently is to all of our advantages.
Well, the obligatory visit is never a bad thing. Just to let people know you exist, you're around, you are a known entity. The Harpies don't need to worry or gossip. Yes.
Should we go
I've
inside?
seen I don't know. I like for rain. It is rather soothing to me.
Suit yourself.
Is Isabella has a coat or an umbrella on? I assume she's not just being drenched in the rain. Not that it would change to Kogarn's answer, but
No, that's fair. I just had all this research. I just had all kinds of notes I wanted to show her.
Those your notes on the worm's nest, or
On the Wyrm's Nest, also some of the Revenant research, because I did talk to her about that
yeah.
as well. And just general notes. But that's fine. We can stay in the rain.
We understand that you have research and developments to share with us.
Yes, well, I've got the information from our Carthian friend, and I'll kind of take out a map. Actually, I'll probably on my phone. So, actually, yeah, it'd probably be actually a map. So I show her a map where it's marked, showing where it is in the territory. I didn't get a lot of useful information, as he didn't seem to know a whole bunch about what he was looking at. But for whatever reason, the ones that took him there in the first place didn't think to inform you or anybody else. And then, as it happens, couldn't, as he was the only one that managed to get his way out. But I think it's worth investigating. But being as 3 people went in and only 1 got out, we'd probably want more, particularly more Sworn of the Axe.
Do you have any information or the notes on hand?
On the Word's Nest? I have kind of some notes that so I'll give her some notes that I had taken based on what he said. I also actually would have done some research, kind of taking the location and taking the vague picture that he sort of gave me to do some research, see if I can find anything that might sound vaguely like what he described.
Write me another intelligence plus occult roll.
Yep. Okay, and I'm going to use willpower on this.
Mm-hmm. You can also roll academics if you want to look up.
Oh, okay, academics.
Popular understood folklore, tales of such things occurring.
Okay, in that case, I won't spend the willpower. That means I'm probably going to fuck this up. 1 success.
Okay. There are no tales of this that pertain to London specifically. But you would wager, based on the based largely upon popular folklore and religious stories, mainly. This would be perceived to be some sort of possession.
Mm-hmm.
And occult-wise, you can see it. It appears to be.
Okay. Are there any stories that would have kind of from that area that would coincide with like possessions or ghost stories, or any sort of common, like there's lots of people that claim to have seen this thing?
That would be a streetwise check.
All right. I will roll that. So I think I have that.
You
Oh
do
shoot, I
have
don't.
that, yeah.
Oh wait, I do have that. I forgot I changed
You
that.
do have
Yes, I
that,
do have
yeah.
that.
You got
Yeah.
it. It's it would be Composure Streetwise to no. Would it be it would be what would it be to pick up rumors? Probably Presence Streetwise, to be honest, or
Would
Wit
you presence or
Streetwise.
composure? Or wit?
Hmm.
Which one?
Yeah, probably not. Probably Wits. Trying to jack
Wits?
into the rumor
Alright.
system. Yeah,
Okay.
Wits is
Alright.
all
And
about awareness and knowing things and perceiving.
okay. I will spend willpower on this one then.
Okay,
So that'll
3
be
extra dice
3,
for you. Keep in mind how much
4.
willpower you have. Keep track of it.
Yep. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, that is 2. No, okay, 2 successes on that one.
Okay. There are no ghost stories surrounding the place, but there are rumors of strange conjoined Frankenstein-like monsters showing up in Norbury.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's very much an urban myth sort of thing. Like two people stitched together, leaving people half dead in the street. It's coming out of it's a story coming out of Norbury mainly. It's where all the rumors are centered around. Something that latches onto you and leaves you drained like a husk. You haven't. It's difficult to discern kind of how legit it is. You're not sure if this is if this rumor suggests that this entity is merely draining people or killing them. It's doing something to the local populace.
Okay. All right, so I'll share all of that. So the research on the revenants I did, the research on the area surrounding the Wyrm's Nest, and what Sebastian had told me. And I'll give them all of that information. That's all I was able to get so far. Like I said, without being able to actually see it, I don't know. I can't really verify a lot of this.
Well, that is not a particularly significant degree of information, but from what I gather, it definitely does appear to be some sort of possession that occurred within the area. I suppose the question would be, why is it staying within this particular place? You know that it's staying within a sort of derelict building, basically.
So is it an actual building that this is in, or is it underground, or is it?
It's an actual building.
Okay.
It's a condemned building in Norbury. I would wager something happened there, or somebody did something there to create this situation.
Most likely. Probably the same person that created the monsters, if those rumors can be believed.
She kind of looks down and thinks, kind of navel gazes for a moment. The possession is definitely not complete. Otherwise, there'd be no rumors. There would be no perception of two individuals.
Right.
They are still being. It is more as if they are fettered to the mortal in question, or the body. Did you get any information about its eyes?
Its eyes.
Hmm.
I don't know if he actually saw it that closely. Did I? Did anyone say anything significant about seeing the eyes on it?
No, he didn't say anything about its eyes. It had eyes, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Did
very
anyone of the
visual.
people I talked to when I was looking for rumors mention anything, or anything that I read? Did it mention anything about it?
No, it's the only thing significant of a rumor is other than seemingly leaving people tired, forlorn, or sort of broken in some fashion, is that it seems to grow in size and
Hmm.
seems to leave people sort of again kind of almost as if they've been like haven't eaten for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like it grows, like it looks obese, and and, and overweight and fat and just sort of
Hmm.
almost
Like a
like
tick or something.
yeah, like a tick, like a humanoid tick is a good way to put it.
Huh.
Um,
It's odd. Would I know of anything that sounds kind of like that?
um, you've never heard of ghosts that act like this, so you think it must be some other spirit, some sort of spirit, perhaps tied to something else. It's certainly not a spirit of death. It's not a ghost.
Huh. And
Ghosts
it's not
don't
a vampire.
Not a vampire. Vampires are creatures fairly heavily tied to the material.
Right.
Um, there are, of course, rumors about ways in which kindred can control and destroy and even enter other realms that spirits purportedly come from. The Order Jakul have done quite the research on these alternate realms, but none of them really have much information on what it's like. A lot of it is theories.
Uh,
Um,
hmm.
but it would appear to be, yeah, some sort of a spirit, not of death, but of something else. But what of is a good question.
Mhm. Ghosts are not necessarily my area of expertise. If you know of anyone that might know more about this within the order here, there might be of more use. But based on what I've heard, it's nothing I've ever heard of before. So we may be dealing with something that has not yet been documented, or we might just be dealing with something that's outside my own realm of knowledge. But either way, I would be interested in pursuing it and learning as much about it as possible.
Hmm. I think what we need is more information. If it's a spirit, like us, it will have some sort of bane. It will have some sort of ban, something that is dangerous to it.
Well, it seems like a parasite from just the way it's been described. So typically, parasites need some manner of host, whether it's on a temporary or permanent basis.
All spirits, be they ghosts or of other realms, they need mortal attachments. Manifesting within this world is dangerous for them and often impossible. They usually cannot do it on their own. Most require a mortal host. It is quite dangerous for one to get this far. At least on its own. The vast majority of our accounts come from instances where we have deliberately encouraged such behavior so as to study and observe.
Right.
It is possible to manipulate circumstances such that spirits can be encouraged to manifest within this world. But it's difficult. Again, usually confined to a specific ritual space.
Mm-hmm. I also wonder if the spirit is here and it's tied to that particular place because of something somebody did.
Yes, it is likely
it was called
that,
there and trapped there.
That's either gotten loose or it's been released. But it's still called to this place. It conceptually calls to it in some way. I would like to know why. If we can figure out what type of spirit this is, then we will be able to establish what its ban is. Then we will be able to control it, to sedate it. And then we'll be able to claim the space it once controlled. We'll be able to make use of its power to establish our own studies and develop our own coils.
Would be interesting.
This thing seems to feed off of people in a manner not too dissimilar to us.
Yes, which is interesting, which makes me wonder if that's significance, if it's some sort of divergent or it's unrelated. If maybe the spirit was attached to one of us in life or created even. It's a lot of questions. I was curious if you have, if there's some sort of library with a bit more information on something in this vein of study. I think I've exhausted my own resources, as I said, is not typically my area of research.
Well, I believe that is where I can help you. I have quite a well-established library on matters of the occult.
Excellent.
I may be able to dig something up for you. I must say, this is extremely interesting. I've never heard of anything like this. I've had my fair share of dealings with the spiritual world. Not so much for death, not so much the underworld, but the shadow. The city has quite an interesting spiritual court. From what I can gather, the Crown have been quite involved in it. It wouldn't surprise me if it had something to do with this. Although we are very far away from their territories.
Who do you think it was that's involved in it? Sorry.
Potentially the Crone. They are somewhat renowned for their powers to communicate and control spiritual activity. Their knowledge on it rivals our own.
Of course.
But it is theological as opposed to empirical.
If it was them, I wonder what they would be doing in this area.
This area rests on the edge of Invictus territory, but it is still our domain. And very much question their right to be there and engage in such activity if they were. But
Mm-hmm.
this is just hypothesis. This is conjecture on my part.
Right.
As the Kogaion has stated, we would require more information before we act. We need to discover what sort of spirit this is. It appears vaguely humanoid in nature, which implies it's either well developed or is connected to the human condition. And yet it feeds from them.
Hmm.
Might be worth investigating the area and then the location. See what other rumors and stories have been popping up around Norbury.
Mm-hmm. Can look into it.
If you're lucky, you may even run into it.
Well, like I said, the two idiots that decided to go in there didn't find their way out again. I'd like to go in with slightly more of a plan and a little bit more prepared.
I'm interested in the possibilities the spirit in this location may provide.
Well, you can come along.
I wonder if it has any if it has any resemblance to our own feeding practices. Then the resonance may provide us an opportunity to develop certain skills relevant to the. He kind of stops himself for a moment. I get ahead of myself. My apologies. I tend to get like this when I'm excited.
Oh, I
When I'm
understand.
animated. I'd very much like to go with you when you go to research the location.
Would be welcomed. And anyone else you want to bring. That's trustworthy, anyway.
Ah, well, I'm no soldier. I think 2 members of the Dying Light will be enough for field research. He looks up to the Kogaion. I can assign 2 members of 2 Sworn of the Axe to this place until we establish a more permanent residence. They'll be able to provide you with some manner of protection while you perform your research, your archaeological exploration. She smiles.
We'll see how archaeological it is. But all right.
Now, no, none of those of the mysteries are here, which is a shame. If they were at that Elysium, I would have assigned such a task to them rather than yourself. I must admit it was to assign you such a political task. Well, it is something they're better suited for. Something
I won't disagree.
Pardon?
I won't disagree with that.
Nonetheless, Sebastian Yord was the one who provided you this information, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who else knows you provided? He provided you with this information.
There's at least one other. The ringmaster. He runs the circus, but I have him. I keep a close eye on him.
I'd be careful. If Lancashire see some sort of religious value in this place, then they may seek to obtain new information from him forcefully.
They see religious value in everything, but it's something to be aware of. Him and I have an alliance of sorts, but if he oversteps in this regard, then he would be aware. He should be aware that it would go quickly beyond just me and him. It's out of their territory. It's nowhere near their territory. So it would be difficult for them to even attempt to make some kind of claim, even if they did figure out where it is. They don't know where it is. They only know of its existence.
If you could impress that upon him, it would be appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I have no desire for a conflict with the Lancair, but if they were to challenge us, I would not hesitate to put them down.
I'll be sure he's aware of that.
Needless to say, our research has far more value than whatever preachings they may have.
They like to draw a line between everything and their god. I don't personally see much of the value of it. But to each their own.
Faith has its place in the world.
Indeed.
In fact,
As long as said, we've always him and I have a long history. As long as
of
we can
course.
stay in our respective lanes, there should not be an issue. I hope he doesn't push for there to be one.
I trust he'll keep to your alliance, as you put it. But I have little else to add. But you will find two sworn of the axe getting in touch with you rather soon. Just
Understood.
notify them when you wish to move towards the area.
I will. I'll try to
Yeah.
gather some more research and make use of your library, and then move as soon as I'm confident I've exhausted anything I can do on a outside from an outside perspective.
Very well.
But if there's nothing else,
there is one more thing. That is why I brought up the members of Sworn of the Mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we should act to repay our favor to Mr. Yord as soon as possible. As significant as this location is to us, as its security from the Lancair, a favor over an entire covenant is not small, and I do not wish for Mr. Yord to plant us in the middle of another covenant conflict. I do not wish to fight the Carthians' war for them. Find out what the problems of the Carthians are within their domains.
From the sound of it, it seems like they lack hunting grounds, or he did. He seemed like they were stretched for finding places to hunt or access to blood. That was an immediate concern that he seemed to have, aside from the usual Carthian problems of authority and Invictus.
Yes, most of their domains are rather poor in quality. Their nightlife is diffuse. And they hold fewer territories than any other covenant, despite their large kindred population. They're almost, if I recall from the last Invictus census, they are almost twice our number. Regarding the blood issue, I would speak with Miss Thatcher. She She has a tie into the city's blood trade.
Thatcher?
She utilizes such connections for her experiments.
Interesting.
We have benefited greatly from them,
You could imagine.
so we are quite happy for her to maintain and develop such connections. But they
Well,
could also be used, if we can develop them, to go a ways towards paying off this debt to the Carthians.
Sure, that's something he would jump at, especially if it was something that could benefit the rest of the clan.
Yes, but it also appears they have. Might also be worth speaking with Miss Shade, but I'd be very careful. She is wily. And she will know what you wish to speak of before you meet her.
That's ominous.
I consider her a peer of mine.
I didn't say bad, I just said ominous.
We tend to be. I mentioned Miss Shade because she has significant ties to the city's entertainment industry. Securing the Carthians a superior nightlife might go some ways towards alleviating their feeding issues. Of that, we will need to establish connections of our own. I know a few Ordo who have such connections. They're usually irrelevant. They are better. Such connections are merely for feeding purposes, not really for anything important. Not relevant to our great work.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps another then. Perhaps if you find someone underneath Keeper Shade who has connections, would certainly be an easier target for you.
All right. Well, I can try and talk to Miss Thatcher, and then if it doesn't seem something viable, then I can try Shade or their underlings.
Shade will push you. If anything is going to be non-viable, it would likely be her. She'll likely force a price upon you that is too high. And you do not want to be trading one debt for another, particularly if it is a debt to a neonate, albeit a covenant-wide debt to an elder.
It's fair.
We tend to be timely when we call in our debts.
Mm-hmm. It's all about efficiency.
But such timing is fortunate for us and often very unfortunate for the debtor.
Is that it then?
I believe that is all. Your work is appreciated, as is your negotiation on our behalf.
Appreciate that. I did what I could.
It's not an easy thing to spontaneously take on the burden of a whole covenant. It is something It is something we shall remember moving forward.
Be good to be remembered.
That depends on who remembers you and why.
Very much. But some might argue that any attention is good attention. Not sure I would, but some would.
In my experience, such creatures live short lives.
But leave interesting stories that people remember.
The stories, yes, they will leave them behind. But they will not necessarily live to speak of them. Perhaps I should tell you one of my stories sometime. She smiles. But another time, I think. I have kept you out in this weather for far too long.
Well, if there's anything else I can do for you, let me know. I appreciate the offer, the use of the library. I'll try to make use of that quickly so I can be prepared for this next excavation, I guess you should put it.
Yes. Then I shall be seeing you. She'll begin to walk away as well the child will with her as Kern will just kind of give you a nod of acknowledgement and simply say, "Good evening to you. Looking forward to working together."
Indeed.
And they'll begin to. Sorry.
Now they should start going back to your car.
Yeah, you'll begin to part ways, walking in opposite directions. If you look back, by the time you look back, well, both the Kogaion and her child have already vanished from sight.
And goodbye.
And that is where we can end this scene, I think. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you all next time.